The Assassin's Creed Shadows thing is such a mess. I remember like when I first heard about the game, I was a little like confused, I suppose, about the choice of protagonist. But let's get into a little bit of backstory and I'll talk about the developments, I suppose, of like the controversy. So, if you are familiar with Assassin's Creed, in Assassin's Creed 1, it was set in the Middle East and it had an Arab as a protagonist. In Assassin's Creed 2, it was set in Italy and it had an Italian protagonist. Um, Ubisoft is a French company. Creed 3 was set in France with a French protagonist. Um, and then Assassin's Creed, there was one set in Egypt with an Egyptian protagonist. There was one set in Greece with a Greek protagonist. There was one set in like a kind of Scandinavian area, and it had a Norse protagonist. Uh, and the most recent one is set in feudal Japan, and it has um a a man based on a historical figure, and that's where this controversy is coming from. That was originally from Africa as the main protagonist. As a samurai in Japan. Just you know, again, it's a French company making the game. So, all right. So, Ubisoft recently posted an apology on Twitter about uh, well, the reception of the choice and the way that they chose to represent the Japanese culture in their most recent game. I mean, there's some valid but flimsy arguments that it's fiction, right? And of course it is. I mean, like, I played a game recently where I was a shark, and I'm not upset at the lack of representation in a shark game, right? But let's be realistic about what this is, you know? Like, um, all the other games had a protagonist from the area that the setting was in. And they do have two protagonists. They actually have a Japanese woman as a assassin. I don't know if that she's a samurai. I think her abilities are a little bit different. But I mean, and congratulations, Ubisoft, for finally um, being able to animate a female. I remember a while back you said that there couldn't be like female protagonists in Assassin's Creed because they're too difficult to animate. I know that you've thrown some in occasionally, so hey, there's that, right? But you know, um, the option to switch between somebody from Africa or a woman when trying to play like as a samurai in feudal Japan is still a strange choice. It like I it is, right? So, in addition to it just being a strange choice to begin with, it turns out that a lot of the research that was done into the man Yosuke was written in a book by former former Nihon University associate professor Thomas Lockley, um, a man born in Germany who was raised in New Jersey and educated in Miami. Um, he originally moved to Japan in 2000 to teach English in elementary schools, and congratulations, working your way up to an associate professor. Um, he's probably going to chose a different career path because a lot of the book that he wrote on Yasuke um, may or may not be true. And when you present yourself as a historian working at a university, people prefer, people prefer factual history if you're presenting it as fact. So he was fired you know, but his work and the Wikipedia article he himself edited, based on his work, is Ubisoft's research they did for the game. Everything fell apart when they recently had him on a podcast discussing the game because people did just a surface level amount of digging to see that most of the research was kind of circular of him citing his own work and editing his own Wikipedia page. So to fix things, to smooth things over with the Japanese community, Ubisoft, a French company, made a tweet in English on their Ubisoft Japan Twitter with, luckily, the reply, like in the replies, a Japanese version, right? So to save face with their Japanese customers, not really, they apologized in English to soothe, American Twitter because honestly, a lot of the people that were speaking out about this are the kind of people that are tired of this kind of thing happening in games in general in the United States. But it took like no amount of digging to find some uh, Japanese YouTube channels that can speak in English. And I watched like 3 of them to see that, oh, it turns out that, that people that live in Japan are a little disappointed that, different from every other entry in the series, the protagonist in their setting isn't representative of their culture. Um, this is actual cultural appropriation. It like that term has been thrown around a lot, but this is an actual example of it. They they took a existing history and made a decision to change it for their story, and they had a very flimsy excuse that of all of all the people that were samurai in feudal Japan, there's kind of one story about a guy that I don't know, it's shaky. He may have at best carried swords for a samurai, which is absolutely a position of honor and very respectable that somebody would have come there so long ago on their own and made it up to that point. Like it's definitely a position of respect, but all that fell apart when they did a showcase of the game recently, where they had Yosuke walking through a village in feudal Japan and the people bowing to him as he passed by. And then when the fight sequence started, they had like somewhat inspired by traditional Japanese music song playing that had been remixed into a rap song playing in the background during his fight sequence. I mean, like, sometimes people make a big deal out of nothing, but I mean, this is a little, I don't know, all of this was really obvious. And, I'm glad that the apology isn't going over very well. I'm glad that the the Japanese government are looking into whether or not this is cultural appropriation because there's instances like culturally appropriate shrines, lanterns for shrines that are just completely replicated in the game where you can't do that without permission from the Japanese government because of the cultural significance of it. So, it's good that like that something so egregious is actually being investigated, and dealt with in an official capacity. because Ubisoft is a giant company, and they just took a culture and the the base the base starting price of this game is $70. There's like 110 and $130 version of this. This is definitely for profit. Like that's the difference. Sometimes people get mad on Twitter if like one girl is wearing an insensitive outfit or something, and they shout cultural appropriation. But no, it is appropriation when you take a culture and use it like without respect, context, and permission sometimes for profit. And that's absolutely what this is. And and I think it's important when that's what this is to call it what it is, because words had a meaning and using them like excessively in situations where they don't apply can lessen their meaning. But this is almost textbook cultural appropriation. And I I remember like being somewhat irritated that the conversation about it was you know it's like, okay, you're upset that that someone like from Africa is being represented, and it's like, no, I think it was a weird choice that somebody from Japan wasn't being represented in a game based in Japan. Like, it just would have made more sense for the setting to have used like if they were going to use a person from history, there's a lot of people that would have made more sense. But yeah, I really feel like this controversy was intended to get interest back in a franchise that has become a little stale over time. I mean, like Black Flag was pretty good, and some of their games are okay. Like, I mean, they became it became a big franchise like for a reason. But I'm I don't know. I'm a little glad that that honest conversations are being had about this, and um you know, maybe next time you're making a giant multi-million dollar video game, don't use Wikipedia as your historical research if it's going to be based somewhat in reality. I mean, like, go full fiction. Like, don't base it on an actual person if you're not going to like take the time and care to vet your information. If there's a single book written on a person from history, then where's their sources? I'm going to be keeping an eye on this as it gets closer to release dates, to see whether or not the Japanese government can interfere in any way, and how well or poorly the game is received in Japan, and to the lesser extent, the United States. Again, like, I'm not Japanese. It's not my culture that is being treated this way, but I know what I'm looking at when I look at this, and I just wanted to talk about it. Take care.